Alright, so, more top 10. Some of you hate that, some of you love that. I don't really care because I love to make them. That's what I do. I do what I love, and I love video games. And we're going to talk about a list that I didn't even think of, but my co-host here, who's on a lot of my videos now, Nick Pell!
What's up, everyone? Yeah, my name's Nick Pell. Like James said, I do a lot of videos on this channel. He does a lot on mine, and I do movie reviews on my channel. So check that out if you're interested.
And so Nick came out with a cool idea. Remasters are like everywhere. There's like 10 a year, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, that's all there is." But come on, we all love remasters when they come out of games that we love playing. So we thought, why not make a top 10 list, 5 from each of us, of games that should be remastered. So let's get on with it.
Alright, so the first game that I thought would be a fantastic remaster would be the 2 games from the Darkness franchise. The first game was arguably not fantastic, but it started off the franchise very well. You got to have these 2 demonic presences over your shoulders, killing people, eating their hearts. Just everything that you could want and more in a video game.
And a great story. Yeah. It did have a good story.
Yes, it did have a good story. And I would argue that the second one had an even better story. It was fantastically fun. I played through it probably at least 3 times on 360. So I want to go through this thing again on PS4 and XBOX One. Because it's just such a fun game, such a fun concept, and I love to see it get a third game, just because I left it off on such a cliffhanger, and I want a conclusion to my trilogy. So yeah, let's get Darkness 1 and 2 remastered so that the studios can see, oh hey, we want a third one.
So, my number 5 on my list, or this I guess would be number 9 on the overall list, is Mass Effect series. I'm just going to put them all 3 because you can't play one without playing the others. Mass Effect is a fabulous series. It's one of the best around, probably my favorite trilogy of all time. I have a tattoo on my arm, how much I love this series, and I would just love to replay these games for the 5th time, the whole series again, which is sick. James. But I would love to do it one more time on the PS4 and the Xbox One so that when the new one comes out, I can get right into it again like this is what I remember and love. So I would love to have all 3 again.
Number 8 on this list is going to be the Fear trilogy. This is another horror franchise which just made really large leaps and bounds for the horror franchise on video game consoles. The first 2 Fear games were easily some of the scariest things I've ever played, especially in the second one with the school level. Just one of the scariest things I've ever had to do in the dark. But this franchise, or at least this trilogy, definitely deserves a remaster because I would love to see the franchise at least continued, because I think there is definitely room for that, or at least do something with it, because it's just sitting there now and it's a really good franchise and it's a good horror genre because we don't really have that anymore in video games, and at least nothing to live up to the Fear franchise.
Yeah, I was going to say, not too much on first-person shooter horror anymore, which I understand is a little harder to do because you have a gun and fully equipped, but Fear 1 and 2 especially did it well in the atmosphere department, and 3 went more balls-to-the-walls action, right, but it still kept that horror tone and look and story. So I do hope for a remaster because I love them. They're easy to play and fun, and then I would love to see a 4th one. But mine is actually going to be an old game. We're going back to the Xbox, original Xbox or PC, Knights of the Old Republic. I would almost cheat and say I want this as like a remastered / remake, almost like the Fable that they did, because I would love to see this with updated graphics, because Knights of the Old Republic is honestly, and it's going to sound insane, got me into Star Wars. Out of all the things, the movies never did it for me until I played this game, and then I went back and watched the movies. It is well told. It has one of the greatest twist endings of all time, and it has some of the funnest gameplay, especially if you like to be a Jedi, or you can be a Stormtrooper. You can be all these things, and you can use all these weapons, and you find all these people, you go to all these different planets. It was something special, and Mass Effect definitely takes a lot from it and enhances it, so that's why I would like to see this almost remade to make it more up-to-date, but keep the core essence of the franchise, and then make a 3rd one. That would be amazing.
But the next one on this list is going to be a franchise, or at least a trilogy, which not everyone was a fan of initially, but I love all 3 games, maybe not the 3rd one as much as the first 2, but it has to go with it, and that is Final Fantasy 13. This is a trilogy which I just really fell in love with from the first game. The second one is, I would argue, even better than that, just with the time travel elements and the story and the characters. And it's just such a fun RPG, at least in my opinion, and did a lot of things right. And I, as someone who enjoys linear stories, I really enjoyed how linear the story was, at least in the first one, and then you got to kind of do more of what you wanted. And the second one has fantastic villains, and yeah, the third one wrapped it up quite neatly, and it actually kind of leads into Final Fantasy 15 as well, since those two games, or at least those two franchises, were supposed to be interlinked initially, until they decided to just scrap it and call it Final Fantasy 15. So yeah, Final Fantasy 13, definitely one that I would love to play on next-gen consoles again.
Yeah, fuck that shit. I want my Final Fantasy 12 already. I know it's coming, but it's taking too long.
What about Final Fantasy 7?
I'm alright about that. So, my next one is a game that I really love, that a lot of people really enjoy, but I think forgot about. SpiderManShattered Dimensions. Now, I can't wait for the new Spider-Man game. I love what they're doing with it. Insomniac knows what they're doing, so I'm excited. But Shattered Dimensions, to me, was like the rebirth for Spider-Man games. Web of Shadows, while fun, had glaring problems. With Shattered Dimensions, it felt for the first time it was polished, had a well-told story, it was fun as heck to play as 4 different Spider-Man, and it brought back to me, as one of the biggest Spider-Man fans out there, the game that I wanted for Spider-Man. So Shattered Dimensions is something that would be pretty easy to remaster because the graphics are mostly cell shading and stuff, so it still look good, and it would just be a lot of fun to replay for the 5th time. I know I'm sick, but yeah, I want to play it again.
Who, or at least I guess the number 4 or 3 choice, whatever this list is, would be Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5. And so I know that these are being essentially, or they have been remade from the initial PS2, PSP versions of the games, but just seeing these things on current gen consoles would be so fantastic, especially since Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be on both PS4 and Xbox One. I would just love to see them, and I think it'd be such a financially smart decision to put them on the current gen consoles in case someone, oh hey, I already sold off my PS3, so I can't touch the remastered versions. That way everyone can kind of get their hands on them. Xbox One owners can finally get a taste of it before the third one comes out, so they can actually know what they're doing and know what the story is. I played through 1.5 and 2.5, and I'll play through 2.8 when it comes out. And I would play through the whole franchise again, leading up to Kingdom Hearts 3 in a heartbeat if they re-released it on PS4.
My number 3, or well, the number 3 or the number 2 for me is, I was going to go Persona 3 or 4, but I actually rather see Persona 3 redone or remastered, because Persona 4 you can play on the Vita right now, and it's fabulous, it's amazing, it's the golden edition, so it's well done. I would just like to see 3 a little bit update, faster battle system, give it a little refresh paint on the graphics, and give it to me, because this is a great game. With 5 coming out and it looks amazing, I think it would be a good time to release 3 to understand why people love this franchise now. And it started with 3 really as bringing most of the PS2 gamers into it. So I would love to see 3. It has a dark, gritty story. It fucking deals with depression, school life, all these great things, and then it also has a good RPG battle system. So I would love to see Persona 3 redone or remastered.
Yeah, Persona is one of those franchises which I've actually never touched, and it's one that you've hyped up to me quite a bit, and so if they were to ever remake it for PS4, I would definitely just dive into it. But my number 1 that I think should be remastered is the Dead Space trilogy. The first 2 games, and arguably the third one as well, even though, again, not quite as good as the first 2. This is a game which also redefined horror. It kind of does the same thing as Fear does, in that it just puts you in such tension-filled situations that you just don't know when an alien creature is just going to pop out of a vent and stab you and slice your head off. It's just one of the most tension-filled games that I've ever played, especially when you got like an army of necromorphs coming at you. You have about 2 shots left of your gun, and it's like, well, I'm probably gonna die right now. Just one of easily the most fun trilogies that I've ever played through, and I would love to see this thing remastered and maybe just even continued on if they could find a good enough story to do it with.
Yeah, I I enjoy 1 a lot. 2 is one of my favorite games of all time, period. And 3 was a lot of fun, despite it not being as good as the first 2. So I would buy this in a heartbeat. Whether I don't even care if it was $60, if I could play all 3 again, that would be amazing. Because I played through all of them at least twice. So you could tell I really would just love to go one more time with this series in a row. That would be amazing. But my number 1 remastered is going to be Infamous 1 and 2. I'm one of those guys that loves this series, and Second Sons was a slight disappointment for me. While I had fun, just wasn't nearly as good as 1 and 2 for me. Whereas 1 and 2, literally, the base idea of electricity never seemed so amazing to me, and is why I write comics almost in a way, because of the electric powers being used in such innovative ways. I also love the story. I think Cole is one of the coolest main characters, and he actually grows from this gravel voice due to actually giving him characteristic traits that you actually care for, root for, and love by the end of the second game. That made me absolutely cry like a little bitch. So Infamous 1, great. Infamous 2 is top 10 games of all time for me ever created. It is just so well done. It gives you emotion, it gives you fear, it gives you excitement, and it's just one of the best sandbox games of all time as well. So to play these again and then go to Second Sons as well, having it all on PS4 would be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I played through Infamous 1 and 2 on PS3 back in the day when they came out. I absolutely loved them. They're the main reason why I got Second Son when that came out on PS4. It was my first game that I played on PS4. I actually enjoyed that one probably more than you did. But yeah, I would love to see these 2 games get remade and remastered on PS4 again, because I would just love to go back through them, especially if they were going to maybe somehow bring back Cole as like a villain or as another hero into the Second Son universe. I would just love to see him interplay with these different types of powers, which are now interspersed throughout the world. I think that'd be really, really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and the great thing about this list is these are games that we all love and want to see, but there's so many other games too that I'm sure a lot of people out there want to put. So that's why, if you're watching up to this point, you should list the games that you want to see remastered, and if you want to throw in a remake, that's okay too. We accept that. But we really want to know games that you want to see that not done yet, because there's a lot that have been done. It actually took me a while, but I want to see lists that you want to see remastered. It can be all the way back to PS1 if you want to do, as long as you list them as not games that have been remastered already. So yeah, none of that God of War shit. But everybody, I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit the like button. If you love me, hit the subscribe button. Unlike all you bastards who unsubscribed on my last video, I know who you are. But anyway, have a wonderful day.